Now, I've already mentioned that we went into a competitive market. There's no such thing as the perfect opportunity. So we went through the first two challenges. First one, find an idea, stick to it. Second idea, challenge, is to get a commercial product in the marketplace, which we achieved that. We got paying customers, and from my experience, never underestimate how hard it is to get money out of people for a product. I mean, in my time, I've been involved with sales and sold myself hundreds of millions of pounds worth of stuff, services, equipment. But getting money out of people is quite a challenge because you're building everything from scratch. Your brand, your service, your product, your customer service. This is a challenge. So we went into this marketplace, and there were already competitors in this marketplace that have been around for a number of years. They're not old companies, but they are established. They are entrenched, both in this country and in other countries as well. But that in some ways is a good thing. I've certainly heard VCs saying, do you have any competition? If you don't, there's necessarily no market. So it's good to have competition. But if you have competition, the challenge is it's the art of war in many senses, in that you've got to compete against these competitors. And that's, for me, that's around differentiation. So it's differentiation of your product, differentiation of your service, and differentiation of your messaging. So to really differentiate yourselves as much as you can. And some of that's around... It's around the weaknesses of your, again, it's the art of war. It's around the weaknesses of your competitors and your strengths, and really looking at that strategically and tactically to try and overcome that. Again, you get lost on focusing on analysis too much with this and focusing on competitors too much. There's a danger of that, and I've seen that happening as well. Who's important here? Customers important, understanding what their needs are. But you still need to keep an eye on your competitors. So you need to know yourself, what your capabilities are, as much as you know what your enemy is, what their capabilities are. So very important to differentiate yourself in the market. So this is the third challenge, is getting to a product market fit, as I ever called it, finding the must-have with your product, that someone is prepared to give you money, sees the value from what you're doing, and that's embodied within your messaging, within your product, and it has to flow right the way through the service. Now, I've used a lot of philosophers and inventors in quotes so far. This guy, Sean Ellis, he's not. He's a marketeer. But there's three leaders, I would say, in the lean startup concept. There's a chap. Anybody heard of lean startups? Oh, it is. It's all good stuff, good education. I mean, it's very much in the web community, IT. And there's three people who not certainly represent it, but certainly have done a lot of work in presenting it forward. There's a chap called Steve Blank. He's based out of Stanford. He's a professor there. He's had 8 startups in his time. He's been through the whole thing. Success, failure. Clever man. A man with a lot of experience, a lot to learn from. Really writes some really good stuff on his blog. I can send you the link if you're interested. Sean Ellis, the marketeer I've already mentioned. Eric Ries is another person. Now, the concept of lean comes from Toyota lean manufacturing, which I'm sure you've all heard of. So that's the idea of just in time. Toyota Way was a book. I don't know if you've come across that book. And the idea that you can stop the line, which is not unheard of in the States. If there's a problem and you fix it there and then, it's about being very, very efficient. So the lean startup is about bootstrapping, using minimal resources to create something, and things like open source and models for gaining customers. So it's almost a methodology for a startup business, a tech startup business, and they've done all sorts of talks around this, all sorts of blogs, and there's a whole community that to talk about this. Now, one of the core concepts of this is don't put your foot down on the accelerator, the sales accelerator, until you have that product market fit. Because quite often what you're doing is you're going to be wasting your money. So an example that Steve Blank has used in the past and written about was a sort of a online shopping service in the States. I can't remember the exact name of it, but they spent huge amount of money on this big infrastructure, both on the web and distribution, and they weren't Tesco's. They didn't have that infrastructure before. They weren't grocers. They didn't understand necessarily how it all worked. And they great business plan. There are huge amounts of funding. I think this was around 2000. I think it was hundreds of millions of funding they had of VC money, and they went to the market, and it collapsed because they hadn't really tested it with the customers. They hadn't found that product market fit. So they'd spent all this money on sales and marketing, and it didn't return. So the idea is to make sure you have a product market fit very in the early stages. And it's based around a pyramid, a model that's underpinned by product market fit, that must-have. So this is the challenge that we're on right now, is product market fit, which then moves on to scalability as well. There's scalable sales, a scalable product. So you can sell more, you've got the channels that you can sell more, and you can service more customers as well. And this is a big challenge, we're progressing forward with this, with the customers we're winning. We're beating our big competition in the market. We're finding our value proposition, our must-have increasingly. And, naturally with that, we're starting to spend more money on sales and marketing to win more customers.